Is inspiring philosophy a secret inerrantist? Well, let us take a look at this video and see. The correct answer to this question is no. That's it. No, I do not hold to the idea of the inerrancy of Scripture. This is the correct answer. But let's see what Michael Jones says. Okay, so Michael Jones supposedly does not know what inerrancy means anymore. So let us explain it to him. If we come into CodePen here, the term inerrancy comes from the Latin word errare, and errare means to err, to go astray, to make a mistake, to wander away from the truth. So that's what the errare part of inerrant means. That's what the errant part of inerrant means. And then we have the word in. And what does in mean? Well, I apologize. This is my first time using StreamYard. So in is Latin for privative. So in means not. In is a prefix. In is a privative prefix. That means not. So inerrant quite simply means not errant. Inerrant quite simply means not having any mistakes. Inerrant means not having any errors. And I find it hard to believe that inspiring philosophy does not know the definition of the word inerrant. This is a tactic of Greg Koukll's when one is to ask an apologist for the evangelical Christian faith a difficult question. They say, "What do you mean by that?" And so here, inspiring philosophy has essentially said, "What do you mean by that?" in the vein of Greg Koukll's tactics. And so this is what I mean by that. Does the Bible have errors? Does the Bible go astray? Does the Bible make a mistake? Does the Bible wander away from the truth? And the honest answer to that is yes, it does. And if you want a list of all the errors in the Bible, then this right here is a great way to start, and the list of errors in the Bible presented by this book is by no means exhaustive. And so let us go back to our friend here, Inspiring Philosophy. This is a dodge. This is a shuffle. This is an evasion. The honest answer is no, I do not hold to the idea of biblical inerrancy, but Inspiring Philosophy instead just simply dodges the question. He sidesteps the question. Evangelical Theological Seminary. And this is a tactic of E. Michael Jones as well, arguing towards academia. He brings the PhD Michael Licona into it, which is simply an argumentum ex auctoritate, an argument from authority. Well, depending upon whether the person is intellectually honest or not, inerrant means, does it have errors? Does it have historical errors? Does it have scientific errors? Does it have moral errors? Does it have errors in math? Does it add things up wrong? And the answer to all of this is yes, it does. The Bible has all of these errors in it. So if you ask an intellectually honest person what inerrancy means, they will give you an honest answer. However, if you ask a Christian fundamentalist apologist what inerrancy means, then they will try to muddy the waters by bringing in concepts such as functional inerrancy. You know, the Bible is only inerrant essentially where it doesn't make a mistake. In all the places where the Bible does not make a mistake, it is inerrant. But where it does make a mistake, well, that's not covered by functional inerrancy because God really has nothing to say about these issues. So it depends. If you ask an intellectually honest person what inerrancy means, it will give you an intellectually honest definition. I think this is an extremely intellectually honest definition of what inerrancy means. So I apologize for. So let's go back to our friend Michael Jones. No, the term is accurate, and this is a very Orwellian part of Michael Jones. He redefines words, he discards words, inerrancy is a good term. Does the Bible make mistakes? Does the Bible, in the genealogy of Jesus Christ, Matthew can't even add up the generations right. He makes a mistake in arithmetic, so there are arithmetical errors in the Bible. So it's not the term that is at fault, it is the fact that the Bible fails the inerrancy test. So let us keep the term inerrancy. Let us keep the term inerrancy so that we can say of this book that no, it is not inerrant. So let's go back to our friend Michael Jones. You don't know what inerrancy means. I mean, I'm. This is why I think that Michael Jones is the most intellectually dishonest apologist on the internet, because he says wild stuff like this. And Michael Jones here is about to make the question-begging fallacy here. He's going to beg the question that there were perfect originals. And in begging the question here, he actually gives the proper answer. The proper answer, we have to deduce this out of him. The proper answer here is that he thinks that the originals were inerrant, but the copies, we only have copies of the Bible, and so the copies of the Bible, they aren't inerrant. So on the one hand, he says, I don't know what inerrancy means, but here he essentially says that, well, yes, the autographia, the autographs, the Ausgangtexten, uh, the originals, they were inerrant. So in this, in the first in the first few seconds of the video, he says, I don't know what it means. And then in the last seconds of the Bible, he says, well, I kind of think that the originals were inerrant. So let us go back to see Michael Jones commit the question begging fallacy. This is begging the question, scribal errors. Scribes copy texts, they don't write texts. So here he is begging the question that the originals were perfect. So, I mean, in this, we can kind of, extract from him here what he actually thinks. He kind of actually thinks that the originals were perfect, that the originals were inerrant. Uh, Discrepancies, if a document is discrepant, I mean, this is a synonym for error. So he'll use the word discrepancy. He won't use the word error. He's he's tap dancing around the word error. Well, it's evidence against your religion. Might not be conclusive evidence, but it's evidence against your religion because for until roughly the time of Spinoza, the Christian church did hold to inerrancy, but then Spinoza began to notice mistakes and errors in the Bible in the Age of Enlightenment, and since then there has been a slow retreat from the doctrine of biblical inerrancy. And it's evidence against your religion. I mean, this is a tactic of his friend Testify as well. Testify will say, oh, well, that doesn't disprove Christianity. No, okay, it doesn't disprove it, but it's evidence against it. If your God actually inspired a perfect and inerrant book, then that would be evidence in favor of Christianity. So the fact that this book, supposedly written by God, is saturated with errors is, in my view, evidence against it. So it is an issue. It is an issue. But, here is Michael Jones hand waving the issue away. The Bible is not reliable. Genesis to the Book of Ruth is pure fiction. And if you read the Oxford Bible commentary, they'll even say that First and Second Samuel, it's fiction, but some of the characters in it, like Saul and David, actually existed. The New Testament is full of forgeries. Read Bart Ehrman. The Gospels are anonymous novels that are full of contradictions. The Synoptics and the Gospel of John have Jesus crucified on different days. So again, he's sidestepping the issue. The question was, do you hold to the idea of inerrancy? But Michael Jones shuffles towards a totally different question. Do you think that the Bible is historically reliable? Well, that's not the question, Michael Jones. The question is, do you think that the Bible is inerrant? And you've totally dodged and evaded this question. You don't know what inerrancy means. I find that's staggering to me anymore. So you once knew what it meant. So have you become more ignorant? Have you usually people acquire and augment their knowledge as they go on. They don't get more and more ignorant. So you used to know what inerrancy meant back when you probably believed in it, but now that you kind of pretend that you don't believe in it anymore, you've suddenly lost the ability to discern what the term inerrancy means. Depending upon who you talk to, yes, if you ask an intellectually honest person what inerrancy means, then they will define it thusly. So they will define it this: does it contain errors? Is it not errant? In means not, errare means to make a mistake. Does the Bible contain a mistake? So yes, it does depend on who you talk to. If you talk to an intellectually honest person, they'll define it something like this. If you ask a Christian fundamentalist apologist, then they will try to redefine inerrancy so as to account for all the errors. And this is why I call Michael Jones a gush galloper extraordinaire. This video has been a few seconds, and yet it has been full of errors. I don't know how long this video I'm recording is, but it's significantly longer than this video here. And as I often think to myself, one could just have an entire counter-apologetics channel devoted to critiquing inspiring philosophy, because he puts out so much error